Okay. Okay, we are live. So sorry about the delay. We've had a couple of technical issues, but hopefully they are all sorted now and all good. So for those of you who haven't joined a live before, or just a reminder, there is a bit of a lag. So when we talk, you'll hear a couple of minutes later. Also just letting you know that as well, Beverly. So as we talk, there'll be a couple of seconds lag. I'll give a couple of minutes for people to join. If you could just drop in the comments where you are joining from, that would be amazing. Okay. Yeah, I can see there's a couple of you on the call. So if you just drop in the comments where you're joining from, and we'll probably start in about another minute or two. How you feeling, Beverly?
Bit nervous.
I'm a bit nervous as well, actually, because of all the technical trouble. It puts you in a different state of mind, doesn't it?
Oh, I'm just a bit nervous.
It's usually quite a friendly bunch, thorough but friendly. So,
Oh my God, don't say that.
okay, we've got Denmark in the virtual room.
Oh wow. One place I'd love to visit.
Yeah, I've never been to Denmark as well,
I'd love to
actually.
go there. Yeah. All
Yeah.
those countries.
We've got Guildford, Ontario. Why have I now suddenly gone echo again? Hopefully, okay, it seems to be choosing when it drops in and out. Oh, it's Natalie's on the call from the Strategic Change Leader Program.
Oh, hello, Natalie.
Okay, we'll give it another. We've got Kent just around the corner. Maria, I'm also in Kent, so we might have to arrange a face-to-face. Okay, we'll give it just another minute, then we will get started. I think this is such a great topic, and I'm so excited about hearing Beverly's take on this, because I think anybody who's worked in change management in any capacity can identify, certainly with that feeling of helping everybody else, but actually, where do I get my help from? Usually, our teams are quite small. Sometimes you're a team of one, and there's nobody else to kind of lean on for support. So it's such a timely discussion. We've got we've got from Canada, James in London, and Lucy in Surrey. Okay, so let's get started, because I know there's quite a bit to get through. So hello and welcome to this LinkedIn Live. Today we're looking at the Change Manager's Edge and who helps you as a change manager when you're helping everybody else. My name is Nisio Zigbu, and if you haven't come across me before, maybe you've just come across this LinkedIn Live. I run the Strategic Change Leader Program, and this is a program that I put together especially for transformation and change professionals to help them to lead more strategically, with more commercial confidence, and to really position change management as a capability and as a skill, as an essential within business operations. And as I've been going on this journey, leading the Strategic Change People Leader Program and welcoming people from across the globe to go on this journey with me, I've been so impressed with the people coming through. I said, you know what? I need to let some people from the program take over my LinkedIn lives, because what they're saying is, number one, too good for me to hide and keep to myself. Number two, they could say these things a lot better than I could. And number three, to show that there's a community, a global community of us who are thinking along these lines. Change management can feel very isolating and lonely, and you'll think, surely it's not just me thinking like this, surely it's not just you, and it's not just me, and there's a community, and I want to share some of these amazing people that I'm coming across. So Beverly is one of those amazing people, and I'll hand over to her to give her introduction to you all.
Hello, and thank you, Issy, for welcoming me this afternoon to share my few thoughts with you all today. So yeah, I'm going to talk about what it's like being a change manager in this really busy, competitive, ever-changing world, and the toll it has on change managers. Can you move the slides? I mean, I can't move the slides today, so I have to ask Nisi to drive for me. I'm going to give a brief introduction as to who I am and what I've been doing. I'll then talk about what I think the modern change dilemma is. Excuse the spelling error there, I'm sorry about that. I'm going to talk about the two key things I think we should be doing to support change managers, and that is coaching and mentoring. They're two can be used interchangeably, but I want to focus today on coaching and why I think coaching is key. Next slide, please, Nissy. So yes, I'm Beverly King, and I've worked for over 10 years in change management in some form. I started my life working as, well, my working life, sorry, as a project and program manager. I worked in quite large projects and programs. And what I found was that I worked for a consultancy firm for about 3 or 4 years. And we'd go out into an organization, put in a really expensive piece of kit system, and then we'd realize, oh, it's not working as we thought it was working. They're not getting the benefits I thought they were getting. And it was through that realization that I came to understand that the missing piece is the people bit. So that's what got me into working to change, and I've loved it ever since. I've worked across a number of sectors, and I've both led change projects and change management, and I've also worked as a specialist change manager within a larger team. Next slide, please, Nissy. So what I'm going to look at right now are the things that make change management difficult, the challenges that we currently face that I think we can overcome by using coaching and mentoring strategies to support us. Next slide. The first thing is a visible burden, the things that we can see that are challenging to work as a change manager. Nissy briefly mentioned that in the introduction, which is that teams are often, they're very large with many project managers, subject matter experts, BAs, analysts, all kinds of people. And then there's one change manager. There's just you on your own. So it leaves you very isolated, no one to bounce ideas off, and you are the accountable person for all the change adoption, for change and the adoption, which is a massive, massive burden for anyone to take, no matter how experienced you might be. The other thing I want to talk about is that it's quite an emotional thing. You're going out every day across organizations, listening to resistance, listening to whinging and moaning, basically. And you've got to absorb that. And that, takes its toll on you emotionally, and it can lead to burnout, it leads to fatigue, it leads to stress. And there's no safe place to go. There's just you on your own absorbing all this stuff. And it is quite wearing. And I've, been through it myself in many, many change projects that I've worked in. Next slide, Missy. There are also some invisible burdens, so things that we can't see but do pose a massive challenge to us as we work as change managers. And that is the strain of the role, the fact that you're going out and you're expected to drive massive corporate influence. You've got no formal authority. I mean, I remember I had a job in a rail industry, and I was expected to go out into rail track maintenance depots and tell these guys that they have to stop using these paper-based systems and now use these handheld. And they're all for it. Oh yeah, that's great. I remember I spent days with them, and I was actually like, the big fat controller there with them, going on the trains, driving, and I felt you know, building up a rapport, getting on with them. But when I left weeks later, they hadn't done any of the things that we had agreed to do. As far as they were concerned, we can talk all we can talk, but I had no authority to make them change the way they're working or make them do anything different. So all this politeness, all this camaraderie that we had, it meant nothing. And that was really heartening. And it did cause a lot of tension going forward. Another key area is that the role has changed as a change manager. When I started doing change management years ago, we're expected to just deliver key outputs according to the program milestones, i.e., the comms plan or change strategy, the change impact assessments, readiness templates, that sort of thing. But now change managers must demonstrate measurable behavioural shifts, not just project milestones. And that, if you're working on your own or with very sparse, infrequent support around you, can really take an emotional toll on you. It can make you feel all these things here, all these 4 things I've talked about, make you feel like you can't do your job, you lose confidence, and it can also lower your self-esteem as well within the team. You think, well, what is my value here if I can't do these things I'm expected to do? Next slide. Thank you. Another key area, I mean, I'm not an expert in this at all, and I'm sure Nissi will jump in and support, is the influence of artificial intelligence in this. Now, AI is a great ally for change managers. It can really help us to bring depth and speed and analytical rigor to our documentation, and can really help to amplify our capability and, you know, really put some depth into the outputs we're delivering. But I do think we do need support in using AI well, in managing what it delivers, and getting the best out of it. Otherwise, it could become more of a hindrance than a help. The other part of AI is that our roles as change managers, because previously we might be train people to use a new system or a new tool, but as our projects now are implementing AI, especially agentic AI, which does these automatic robotic type processes, those roles are going. So people's roles are changing to become now, they have to become the guardrails across those automated systems. They have to provide the humanness around what the AI delivers. And that is a massive, massive change in the what we deliver. And that requires us to become coaches ourselves. And we have to coach people rather than train and teach, which is a big thing. That's a big shift in the role going forward. Next slide, please. So what I'm suggesting is that we use this support of other human beings, i.e. coaching and mentoring, because my view is that you could read books all you like, and, you know, but I think that the support of another person to listen to you and support you is absolutely invaluable. So there's 2 things we could do. There's coaching and mentoring. They're both on the same continuum, as it were. So coaching is more focused on performance and skill development, whereas mentoring is more for career growth and guidance. I'll give an example in a moment. Coaching relies on it helps, it asks questions to unlock your potential. So rather than telling and being directive, which is what mentoring might do, a coach will ask you a series of questions and help you think the problem through yourself. So you own the solution rather than you being given the solution. A bit like the analogy, you teach a man to fish rather than giving them fish every day. It's that sort of thing. That coaching tend to be short term, and you have a specific goal in mind. So a change manager will come and say, I've got this particular problem, and the coach will help to work through it through the structured coaching process. Another thing is that coaches don't need to be subject matter experts. They can be from anywhere, just someone that has the time to sit and listen and use a formal structured process to ask the right questions and tease things out of you. And the big thing with coaching is that it builds self-awareness, accountability, ownership, and I think more growth. Mentoring, on the other side, is more directive. Here, it's usually someone that is an expert in the field themselves. So another change manager might be a good mentor for you, and they'll share their experience and advice. It's long term, it's open, it's not so structured, so you can have an informal coaching session. And it helps to broaden perspective and networks, and helps you develop your career and develop your individual and specific skills. So they're the two differences, the two coaching and mentoring. For the purpose of this talk, I want to focus on coaching, because I think that in the challenge that we're talking about today, I think coaching is far more powerful. Next slide, please, Nissy. So why is coaching key? And I think everyone, every change manager should have access to coaching at some point in their career. Next slide, Missy. So the three key benefits of coaching. So it helps with emotional resilience, because I talked earlier about it's quite an emotional job. You're taking a lot of stuff, and it does have its toll on your emotions. So having regular coaching can help you be more resilient to that. It's a confidential, non-judgmental space to process this emotional friction, and it helps you to recover from fatigue. So you'll leave at the end feeling, so you can unpack things and unburden and put the burden where they need to be. It doesn't have to take it all on yourself, and it can help you build lasting stress management frameworks going forward. So you learn how to manage this and learn techniques how to manage stress as you go through your career. Key thing for me also, it's very reflective, and that's what I love about it. You stand back, review things, and doing that in itself is very, very empowering and helps you to learn. You use the coach also to be an objective sounding board, to test ideas and to analyze organizational dynamics that you might be having problems with neutrally in a safe, confidential space. And it also helps you to separate critical execution hurdles from any background noise. So you're away from the workplace, away from the office, away from all that noise, and you can sit there and really pick things apart in the safe, non-judgmental, reflective space. And also, a good thing about coaching is it teaches you to shift your style, leadership style, your change leadership style from telling to asking. And I think we touched on this in the strategic leaders course that we did with Nissy. This whole thing about, rather than telling people or going out showing, it's asking questions. It's generating the deeper buy-in from stakeholders. And by coaching, you learn that technique, you learn that skill to ask, and ask of yourself as well. How would I have done that? How should I have done that better? What could I do that would improve this going forward? Next slide, please. Just want to leave you, I mean, that was quite quick run through of coaching. I want to leave you with this little quote that I found. Coaching is the universal language of change and learning. It is the bridge between a transformation plan on paper and real lived human adoption. So that's why I'm really keen that, we do adopt coaching as a means to support ourselves and also grow our skills, competency, and our effectiveness as change managers. Next slide. So if you want to find out more about coaching, please get in touch, and that's my email at the end there. It's beverlyqueen@outlook.com. Thank you very much. Very quick, but it's more about hearing what you have to say rather than me. I think.
Thank you, Beverly. And I'll flick back to the previous slide, then I'll come back to this. What I love about this coaching is the universal language of change and learning. It's the bridge between a transformation plan on paper and real lived human adoption. And I think now more than ever, I can't make this point enough. A lot of change is happening so quickly, and everybody's looking for shortcuts. For a number of those people, for a number of us, let me not even take myself away from this. For a number of us, that is meaning automating whatever processes that we can. And when you add to that also hybrid working, and most of the work that we get done is quite transactional, like via emails, or we're updating documents at different times, which means that that window for us to kind of critically analyze, wait, what does this change mean? What does it mean for me? How do I need to position myself? And if you're leading a team, how do I need to equip my team? It then means that the time frame for that, if we're not intentional, so if we're not actively seeking space to sit and reflect, whether it's via a formal coaching session or an informal coaching session, if you're not uh, carving out that time in your diary to reflect, what you find is that you're going on and you're kind of just stepping through change. You're just going through the motions.
Yeah,
You've got no time to reflect on what this means for you. You're getting things done quickly, but quickly and superficially.
yeah,
And then what happens is if you've got all these changes that are happening on the surface, the systemic challenges. So, if there's certain mindsets in your teams that are not allowing you to get the return on investment that you would have hoped, you're carrying that burden from change to change to change. If you, as a change manager, have certain skills that you haven't developed, i.e., your questioning skills to get to the bottom of those root cause issues, if you're not having that time to sit and to reflect, you're superficially giving yourself a tick on the I've
yeah,
delivered this change, I've delivered that change. But in terms of those behavioral outcomes that you were talking about and that we're being measured on, you're not moving the needle within those. So I think now more than ever, this is so, so, so important because the speed of change is sometimes giving us the illusion that we're making an impact. When
yeah,
if you just scratch below that surface, really we'll see that no, that there's not the impact that we would have hoped.
yeah. Absolutely true. Yeah. So I think that time to reflect and go back and think is crucial. And we do need the time to pick that out to make our work more effective, more sustainable as well. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly.
Absolutely. So we'll open up for questions now. We always kind of do a bit of presentation and then some time for questions. There is a bit of a lag. That's just the nature of all streaming software. So if you send a question through and we're taking a bit of time, that's why. I do have some questions prepared. So let me stop sharing this a second. Am I still sharing? Can you
No.
still see the screen? Okay, then. So I've got a question. So Beverly, how did you get into coaching? What made you seek this out as kind of a means of development?
Um, because I've been through all those emotions that I talked about, and I think the biggest thing was when I went out to this railway depot, I thought I was doing really well. And then building up relationship, building up rapport. They were really on board in the workshops, but they weren't actually doing anything, is it? And I thought, well, is it me? Is it me doing that? And a friend of mine was doing a coaching course and she told me all about it. And I thought, well, maybe that is something I can do. Maybe that is something I can do to help me. And I took it to support my management style in my team, but I found it actually helped me with my work better. Because when I'm able to sit down and reflect and wonder why things haven't gone well, or why is this such a big blocker? If you're able to sit with someone and unpick it, all those blockages seem to disappear and you've got a much clearer way through. It's just finding the time to reflect, I think. So yeah, I went through it because I had problems myself, and a friend was doing it, and I thought, let me have a go at it as well. So I enrolled in a course, learnt to be a proper coach, and seen its enormous value for both myself and the team that I'm managing as well.
Mm. And how do you see the role of coaches within organizations evolving? So, how do you think AI is going to impact the way organizations currently interact with coaches versus how they should? So, what would be your recommendation as well?
I think everyone, I think all line managers especially will have to have some kind of coaching skills. I think with the advent of AI, everyone's roles changing, so everyone will have to have some kind of coaching ability to coach people through changes, help them develop their own questioning styles, questioning skills. So I think everyone will need to have that under their belt in some way going forward.
Mm. And for those people who are curious, so they're hearing all of this and they're thinking, maybe this is for me, maybe not. What steps would you recommend they take?
There's loads of coaches around, hundreds and hundreds of coaches. Look on LinkedIn, there's always some there. Um, You're welcome to approach me. I'm a qualified coach, and I'm also a change manager, so I understand and empathise with all the grief that you might be going through as a change manager. But the key thing is to find someone you trust, someone you have a rapport with, someone you feel comfortable with, someone who you feel will listen to you confidentially, and that can just sit and talk you through the issues, help you unpack the problem, and help you, you know, ask the question to help you to unpack these things yourselves. So it doesn't have to be somebody that you know, but you need to be able to trust them and to have some rapport with, I
Mm.
think.
Yeah, definitely. And from your opinion, oh, I'm echoing, what does a good coaching relationship look like?
Um, it's challenging. A coach should be challenging. You should come away from a session feeling, oh, um, a coaching session should be a good session should be make you think. um, can be quite prickly sometimes, but that's good prickly. It's good to, you know, really get to the depth of why you behave the way you do. Why do you think that way? And really question how you react in certain situations. So a good coach should be challenging, should be supportive, should be patient, friendly, listen. Coaches spend most of the time listening. We don't do a lot of talking. We listen. Um, and yeah, I think they're the main skills of a good coach.
Yeah.
But someone you will get on with. If there's a clash in rapport in beginning, that won't work. So you need to spend time to build that rapport first of all,
Mm.
before the sessions start.
Yeah. And I love what you say about coaches spend a lot of time listening and the fact that you made the distinction between coaching and mentoring. Because I think if you go in with an erroneous expectation that it's going to be a mentoring session and you're expecting somebody to give you all the answers and then they're continuously asking you questions, it's easy to get frustrated and to
Yes.
think, well, this is not what I
Yeah.
wanted. And you're right. It's because you've mismatched the expectation. So I think it's important for people to reflect on actually what's going to be most beneficial for me now? Am I looking for somebody to just tell me so that I can do? Or am I wanting to grow as a person? Am
Yeah.
I wanting to engage in this personal development journey? And it might take a bit longer or it might look a bit different because I'm having to kind of scan my own archives of what I've experienced and how I'm showing up. But
Yeah.
actually, ultimately, in the long run, it's better for me. Back to your analogy, you can give somebody a fish or you can teach them how to fish,
Exactly.
and those outcomes are completely different. So we've
Exactly.
got a question here from Chantal. She said, "Thank you, all really helpful. What coaching questions have you found most useful to ask as a change manager?"
Oh wow. um, they're all useful because as long as they make people think, they're useful. So a couple I've asked in the past are what what would you have done differently now that you're in this position? Now what would you do differently? Um, how do you think it made it how do you feel about the results you gained? So I want people to understand how they feel internally about that. And also, how do your users feel? How do your stakeholders feel about the what you've done? And they've made people stand back and think, well, I've done this and I think it's made them feel like this or make them behave like this. So those questions are helpful. It's the reflective ones. It's now that we're here in this position, what do you think would have been done differently? How do you think it's gone? Those are the questions that I think are more or very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would add to that is, so I did some coaching refreshing sessions over the past couple of weeks, and I was asked to read this article. There's been some research done about a feed forward process. Some people call it a pre-mortem as well. So
Mm.
to look at actually looking forward, like based on my skills and experience, um, what would I expect to see? So oftentimes we're looking back, which is good, and that gives us intel. But it's also really important to look forward. Like what would I want? A question I ask to myself is, what would I want to say about what I've achieved in the next year?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
that's how I make that my goals.
yeah, we do for coaching session. I always start with what are the goal, what are the objectives, and I
Mm,
ask people to think about. So, what do you want to feel like, or how do you vision yourself in 6 months' time? And we use that to set goals, and then we use it as a basis for the coaching sessions going forward. It's about reflecting forward, and we use the questions going back. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Another question, are there any coaching courses you would recommend?
So yeah, I've done the ILM, which is very good. It's very practical. You have to learn all the theory of coaching and all that, which is very helpful, but it is very practically based. I recommend that. Um, yeah, which is very good. ILM courses.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another comment, great session, thanks. Coaching skills are no longer negotiable as they will be required along the journey and do add value, e.g., as you say, leaders do need listening skills.
Yes, I agree. They do. Listening and questioning and skills to help their teams reflect.
Mm,
Yes, I think they will need those skills.
yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. And I think the thing is with coaching, especially if you're framing an engagement, so this experience as actually this is a coaching experience, you can't hide. I feel like there's ways that you can masquerade and pretend to listen as a leader, and you can do like faux listening, and then no matter what, you're still gonna say what you're gonna say or deliver, a speech. Whereas when you frame things as coaching, I think it's a challenge to all of us because we could all probably do with developing our listening skills. I think it's one of those skills that you have to continuously invest in growing. And so I find I'm very careful about when I say like this is a coaching session because I'm hyper aware of it demands something different of me. This is not an interaction where I can like open the conversation, then switch off because otherwise the conversation's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, yeah, you do have to be really careful to keep very alert and aware and listen through coaching. So you have to learn that muscle, build that muscle and learn. Because it is easy to switch off. I've been in meetings but I've just switched off completely. But when you're coaching, you cannot do that. And a good coach is a great listener and will listen intently. In fact, there's a part of coaching whereby you become almost in a sort of zone, this magical zone of really honing on what people are saying, and you're honing on what they're not saying. You're honing on their body language, you're honing on their tone of voice. So all that stuff comes out of being a good, and you learn that. And
Mm,
that's a really powerful stuff that you can really understand how people are feeling through those really deep listening skills. So you can do that. It's
yeah,
it's fun.
absolutely. Do you see or have you seen an overlap? So imagine there's a Venn diagram or two overlapping circles. Where do you see the skills overlapping between an excellent coach and an excellent change manager?
I think they're almost the same. I think they're
Tell us
almost
more. What do you mean by that?
I think I think a lot of change management, what we do now, is coaching. When I'm going out to leaders and talk to them about, we're bringing in this new change, it mean this for your team. I'm coaching them. I'm listening to what their issues are. I'm trying to help them to reflect. I'm asking questions about how we might go through it, what we might do to support it. That is coaching. So I think a change manager is actually a coach, and we need coaches ourselves.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what I think top of my head. Yeah. We are just glorified huge coaches. But also do analysis and changing back assessment and stakeholder analysis as well.
Yeah,
I do.
absolutely. And that point that you made about coaches need coaches. So in all kind of um, psychological practices, so whether it's coaching, whether therapy, that kind of family of these disciplines, what you'll find is professionally they're always under supervision. They always have somebody that they can talk to. And it strikes me as interesting. I won't say odd, it strikes me as interesting that considering the coaching and listening burden that we have as change managers, that we don't have similar supervisory practices because
Good.
there's only so much that you can continue ingesting as a change manager before you get burnt out, before you get overwhelmed. And the purpose of these supervisory practices is to look after your mental
Yes.
health and safety and
Yeah.
to make sure that actually because of exposure that your mindset and your practice is not getting distorted. So you've got a supervisor there, you've got somebody who's able to check in on you and say, oh, actually, is there an exposure risk for you here? Am I
Yeah.
hearing some things that concern me because of what you've been exposed to, the way you think and the way that you approach things is being impacted?
Yeah.
We don't have that same supervisory practice as change managers, and I do find that interesting. I'm
Yeah.
curious.
Yeah. It's interesting, and I think it's um it's the contributor to a lot of the imposter syndrome, the low confidence that some change managers go through, because there isn't that person to sit and reflect and talk to them and to help them unpack things and to provide the support. See, as a coach, I can be a supervisor and I can do that. As a change manager, I can't.
Mm,
And that's what I think we need to put in place, a
mm,
network of change management coaches to support us through the daily grind of being a coach stroke change manager.
yeah. Absolutely, and I like what you say about the network. We've got a couple of other questions to come through. I will say so. My driving force for creating the Strategic Change Leader program was community and to get experienced change professionals, meeting other experienced change professionals, and to come together and say, "You're questioning yourself about this. You're questioning yourself about that." It's normal.
Yeah,
Considering the exposure that we have, considering how much we're doing, yet how it's received by the businesses, it's normal to have these kind of feelings of am I really doing my job well? Is there anything that I can do better? And interestingly, when I launched it, it was called the Confident Change Maker Program because I'd noticed the decrease in confidence experienced change managers are faced with constantly being in this environment where everybody's kind of talking at you, telling you how you should do your job better, yeah, asking you to do more, asking you to save the world. And I noticed personally and with my peers that massive decline in confidence, which is what prompted me to start the Strategic Change Leader program, where obviously we met. So I think it's so interesting that it's come full circle. We've got another question. Joelle says, thank you, Beverly. Could I ask, what experiences have been most influential in shaping you as a change leader, and how can aspiring change professionals seek out similar opportunities?
uh, that's a good one. What
Yeah.
experience have inspired me as
Yep.
a um, I think seeing people grow and develop and do things they thought they couldn't do. I think just that's very selfish though, isn't it? It's all about me really, how
Yeah,
I've
but we're allowed to be selfish. I think
yeah,
in
yeah,
that sense, it's the selfish is self-care,
yeah.
ish, isn't it?
Yeah, I think what's inspired me is the fact that, I've gone into a team that, they thought they couldn't adopt a new process. They thought they couldn't do it. And through months and months of work, they were able to do that. That's very inspiring, that you can move people along from one position to another. That's very inspiring. And what was the next part of the question? What's
Oh, 1 second. The next part of the question is, and how can aspiring change professionals seek out similar opportunities?
the opportunities are there? There's lots of opportunities out there. Change is happening all over the place. There's all sorts of opportunities. So um yeah, I think it's for you to go out and grab them. They, yeah, definitely is a change everywhere. We're going to be in more and more demand, and I think there's opportunity for people to grow their skills, to develop their change professionalism more in the future. There's lots of opportunities for aspiring change managers. I spoke to a woman the other day. She wants to be a change manager, and I suggested she goes into project management, or start that way and work with users and teams that way to, aspire and to grow her change leadership. Also, comms and HR, all those areas, change is on the forefront, and it's a major driver going forward.
Absolutely. We've got a comment here. Experiencing poorly managed change inspired me. Absolutely. And I think that probably resonates for a number of us.
Yeah.
Um, to round off, I've got my final question would be, there's no more questions in the chat so far. How has taking part in the Strategic Change Leader program impacted you and the way you kind of question and coach and listen as a change leader?
Oh, it's been a massive impact. It's given me the confidence to actually just come out of my shell and share this and say something. It's given me it's given me the confidence to actually use my questioning skills, because part of the course was about using the right questions. It's taught me also to use the language of the user. So rather than talking my change project speak, I use their speak. So talk about return on investment, talk about retention rates that the users want to know about. It's helped me to talk more about the business as a whole, as an enterprise system and systems thinking. So not in an isolated change project, but the impact it has on the rest of the business. So the Change Leader program has been a real catalyst in putting all this together and coming up with this package of trying to support change managers in coaching.
Amazing. Thank you very much. It's always interesting to hear back people's thoughts. So, for those of you that are interested, the Strategic Change Leader Program, you can access it on my website and have a look there. I'll also just flash back up Beverly's information so that you can get in contact with her if you're keen to have a session. I would massively recommend it. I think even just the exposure of hearing and observing the way that she runs her session. We've had one more late question come in before we drop. When you're listening, how do you judge when to interject with a question, e.g., because you'd like clarification, and when not to, e.g., because the other person will interpret it as interruption and get frustrated?
That's really hard, and you can get it so badly wrong. If you interject and get them off their train of thought, um, what I've learned is to just let people speak and then ask clarification after, go back to the bit of the question. The As I say, the most powerful thing is listening, to listen to what people have to say. But yeah, it's a really good question. The answer is very difficult, and I tend to make people I tend to listen to people and try and remember that bit I wanted clarification and go back afterwards. But it is very difficult indeed.
Right. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much, Beverly. It's been an absolute pleasure working and continuing to work with you. As the Strategic Change Leader Program, you get the initial course, and then we continue to check in for 12 months. So it's so amazing to kind of see your journey. Because I remember when we first started talking, you had mentioned coaching, and now you're kind of transitioning. So this is so exciting to observe. I would massively recommend you get in touch with her. And thank you all, for those of you who have joined live, for those of you who who'll watch the recording. If you do watch the recording and you have any questions, just drop them in the chat or direct message Beverly and I directly. Otherwise, we'll see you again next time. In 2 weeks, I'll be joined by Natalie Johnson, who will be talking about her transition in her career and skills that she's built along the way. So you can check out my page for that. Otherwise, have an amazing day. Take care.
Bye bye.